Hello, my name is Lisa Whitehouse and I'm the artist behind Whitehouse Art. For today's tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to paint an adorable little hedgehog using watercolors. For a list of everything you need to get started, be sure to check out the video description below. And please hit the like button if you enjoy painting along with me, and be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see other videos just like this one. All right, so to get started, we're going to draw out the hedgehog. And so it's a pretty basic shape. We're just going to draw a line where the nose is going to go, that kind of arches back, and then there's the furry body, I guess spiky body. And then same goes right here. We're going to come down and then come back. So this is kind of where the nose is going to go, and this is about where the eye is going to go. So now we can go in and add a bit more detail. So the nose isn't going to look so strange. We're actually just going to have it come back like this and be a little bit more rounded. I always like to draw it out a little bit loose before I get started adding the detail. And that just gives me an idea of where it's gonna go on the page. So we're gonna straighten out the head here and come up like so. And these are all gonna be spikes that will come back. And this headline, the hairline, is actually gonna go about here and then come back down here. And I'm just kind of trying to get a loose idea of where everything's gonna go now. So now we're gonna come back down here and we'll draw maybe a little mouth here. And then proceed to come back down to where the feet are gonna go. And we'll just draw cute little feet that pop out here. And then like so. And then I'm going to draw a little eye, and we'll keep the eye fairly straightforward. I'm going to do a half moon shape, followed by a line underneath. And then I'm just going to draw a little circle indicating where I'm going to leave it white. All right. So to start things off, I'm going to use my dagger brush, and I'm going to fill in the lighter part to start. So I'm just going to fill the whole thing in with clear water. And that way I can have some nice gradients that are going to appear. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to go in, fill it up with clear water. And you're going to want a thin layer of water. You're not going to want so much that it's pooling in areas. If you have pooling of water, then it's going to take a long time to dry and the water won't move as predictably. So now I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre, and just coming down right by the nose, I'm going to add in a bit of that yellow ochre. And same thing down here. I'm going to go in and just using the tip of my brush, I'm going to feather down here. And we're keeping this fairly subtle for now. And then I'm going to take a little bit of brown and just come around the eye here. And then a little bit more down by the bottom. And you can see that where I'm seeing those brush strokes, that's where the watercolor has dried, and that's okay. I'm going to darken it around the mouth and then around the nose a little bit more. And because the page is still wet in most places, that allows the water to blend nicely with the paint. So where it's not blending, I'm actually going to go and massage in a little bit more clear water because I really want this layer to be quite blended. Then I can go up and butt up to this here while it's still wet, and that'll smooth that out as well. Then I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of pink and just add that where the feet are. All right, so this should be fairly dry. If it's not, just leave it a little bit longer. But I'm going to go in and add some black where the nose is going to go. So just using a very thin brush. And if it's not completely dry and it bleeds a little bit, that's okay. We just don't want it to bleed a lot. So you can see mine's a tiny bit wet there, so it's bleeding out a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm leaving a little shine mark on the nose by leaving it white. I'm just being ever so careful and filling that in with some Payne's gray. Or if you only have black on hand, that works as well. So now I'm going to take this fine brush and I'm going to go in and add a few more little brush strokes down here while it's still partially wet, because I like the way when it's still wet that some of the lines bleed out and some don't. And we're going to try and make them a little bit random so that they don't look too perfect. And then I'm going to come in underneath the mouth here, which we will come in with black again after. And then I'm just going to blend that in using clear water. All right, so now we can start adding some spikes on here. Now I'm going to start with clear water first. And I'm just going to draw a bunch of lines on the page. Ooh, my brush is a little bit dirty, that's okay. I find towards the end of the day, there can sometimes be little bits in the water. And that's what does that, little bits of paint. So I'm just adding clear water first, and I'll show you why shortly. So the reason is, now when I take my liner brush and I go in and I'm going to start with the yellow ochre and I start drawing those lines, some of them are going to go all over the place and some are going to stay and you'll have more definition. So I'm starting with a base layer of the yellow ochre. And we'll continue to build on that, but this just gives us the lighter under hairs. I always build up with watercolors, so I start with the lighter colors first and then I come over with the dark colors. So I'm trying to make sure the brush goes all over the place so that none of them are going exactly the same direction, because with their little spikes, they kind of cross over each other. They go every which way, and I'm trying to represent that. All right, so that's a pretty good base layer, so we can start building on that now with some burnt umber. So now we'll use the burnt umber and we'll start drawing lines over top of that. And as it's drying, some of these lines will disappear and some you'll really see. So I'm going to draw my little ear here. And you want to just keep working around the painting, using just as much of the tip of the brush as you can. So once I've done quite a bit of brown, I'm actually going to go in and use a bit of the Payne's gray. And I want it to be a lot more dry by the time I get to the Payne's gray, and that way that one doesn't bleed as much. All right, so now I'm going to take a really fine brush and I'm going to go in and do the eye, because this should all be dry now. So we're actually just going to go in and draw straight onto the page, no putting clear water first, just being careful not to have that white filled in. All right, And then I'm going to take a little bit of the Payne's Gray and go in and add some more detail. And just help define some of the areas a little bit more, like the bottom. And now we're going to go in and start doing some here. I just keep working around. And here I don't want to fill in the whole way, so I'm actually just going to have a line that sort of skips off the page a little bit. Maybe a few down here. And then I'm going to draw his little whiskers. And then, while this is still wet, I'm going to go in and start adding some more. So we're just going to build more on this. Darken this ear a little bit. And you can add as many or as few as you want. You don't have to have quite this many, and you can also have quite a bit more. It just depends how long you want to take adding them. I like to have some that kind of go out, pop out like that, so that he looks like he's having a bit of a messy hair day. Just spin that around. And I'm always working all over the place so that they don't look too uniform, because you don't want them all to face the same direction. You want some to cross over. So you can see I'm just continuously moving around, and that's what you want to do too. You can do some brown with it. All right, now I'm just going to do a little bit of light gray around the eye. And I'll blend that in a bit. Maybe blend in a little bit here by the nose. So now I'm just adding some cute little details on the hedgehog. Maybe I'll have some that kind of go out down here as well. So I like when they swirl around and go like that. Then we'll add some little splatters outside. Maybe some yellow ones, and maybe some on top. And then if you want, you can have him sitting on some sort of ground. I'll do my ground just with a bit of Payne's Gray. So I just put clear water first, and then just using a fairly dry brush so that I get that textured effect. I go in and add the ground. All right, I'm just going to thicken up his mouth just a tiny bit. And add a bit more black in the eye. But that's pretty much done, I think. Sometimes as it's drying, some of the black lightens up a bit, so I'll sometimes go back and add a little bit more. All right, so all that's left is to sign it, and you are done. If you enjoyed painting along with me, be sure to hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified of other videos just like this one. And please hit the like button if you enjoyed painting along with me. Thank you so much for watching.